but in case it's not, I'll just talk for a second. But this group call, I always base the group calls on like the check-in forums and the like patterns that I'm seeing between everybody. So I'm like, okay, what do y'all need the most right now? And this is something I spent 2 hours at the coffee shop earlier working on the PowerPoint for this. And I decided I got to the point where I don't think that I think the PowerPoint is honestly going to limit me. And I want to be able to just talk freely on this because I'm very passionate about this and it's something that I've struggled with and I do struggle with still, and that there's a reason that this is the topic that I picked. Um, but for this week, I wanted to talk about the brain and why we self-sabotage when we start to see progress. Um, Something that I do, I always say like, oh, I don't want to talk about myself, but I've realized that like that's the way that we're made to like relate to people and that's how we get experiences and how we get stories. I'm someone who, coming from a background of, we have our first belief about ourselves, right? When that first belief gets challenged, whether that's, so for example, my first belief was that I was fat, that I was not worthy, that I was not good enough, that all those negative things, right? Our brain cannot tell the difference between good or bad. And so my brain just takes that as fact. It takes it as true. The same way I've always talked about, like, oh, gaslight yourself a lie or lie to yourself. It's the same thing because your brain cannot tell the difference between what's true and what's not versus what's good or what's bad. It just takes what's going on as a reality and that's what it knows. So, for example, 23 years of in my head reestablishing the fact that like I'm all these negative things, right? That like I'm the friend that's always going to be bigger and I'm the one that's loud and I'm the one that's annoying and I'm the one that's X, Y, and Z. All those negative things about myself, it's just a fact to my brain. Moving from there, as you start to change those patterns and those identities, your brain sees it as a threat, right? We see it as, oh my gosh, okay, like cavemen, for example. Uncertainty was not what they wanted at all. And so we are, I guess, coded to react to change and uncertainty with anxiety and vigilance. And so we start looking at those things like, oh my gosh, like what do I need to do to get back to the starting place? Right. And so if I'm making the changes to, for example, in it can be in anything, but we'll just take fitness as the like starting point. The example of, okay, if I want to be someone who works out and I want to be someone who is confident and I want to be someone who doesn't feel like shit every day and I want to be someone who treats my body well and loves the way that I look in the mirror and blah, 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 and isn't all those things, right? I've been the opposite. My brain believes that I've been the opposite for 23 years. And so when I start to challenge that thought, that's where self-sabotage starts, where we start to do these things that we start to blame it on other things, right? We start trying different workout classes. We try different diets. We try different programs. We try different coaches. We try all these things and we tell ourselves like, "Oh, it doesn't work." Right? Because our ego has such a negative word and I don't like that it has a negative connotation to it, but changing it to like self-esteem, right? Our self-esteem needs to be protected. So we try to find everything else subconsciously to blame, right? And so in my perspective, for example, if I would be trying to blame whatever was going on in my life, right? Or whatever, oh, calorie deficits don't work, or oh, I'm not in the position to do this. I want to take this past fitness because yes, we're applying it to fitness, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm seeing it come up with a lot of people in like GTZ and in the training and in the check-ins. But I want to take this a step further because if we come in and like we can lose 10 to 15 pounds, right? Easily, that's something that's doable. If you want to change as a person, the identity that comes with that is what changes. What was I saying right before that? Um, See, this is where I need the PowerPoint, but let me think. Hold on. Mallory, do you know what I was just saying?
You were kind of talking about
Oh,
how, like, self-sabotage works outside of just a fitness
yes.
perspective.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if the power just went out or what, but it's dark now. Um, it's
Uh,
taking it past the yes, like taking it past the fitness perspective of when it comes to like my business or when it comes to just like becoming a better person, right? I had the belief in my head for so many years that I wasn't capable of doing anything, that I had failed all classes in school always. I was never going to be good at school, that I was going to all these negative things, right? And so when I started to challenge that in college, when I got pregnant with Ella, I had 20 years of thoughts that were like, "Hey, you're weak." And "Hey, you can't do this. Absolutely, you cannot do this. You don't have the right family support system to help you with this. You don't have the background to help you with this. You don't have the education to help you with this. You don't have it literally would go down to like you don't have like the right relationships and you don't have the ability to learn these things." For the first time in my life, that was where I challenged that thought, right? And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go through with this. We're gonna figure it out as we go." Every single time that you are challenging the belief that you currently have about yourself, your brain starts to freak out. I hate that it's dark now. Gosh darn it. Hold on. I don't know if the power went out or what. Um, oh, there we go. Okay. When we have these thoughts of when we get to that line of plateau, right? When we get to that line of like, okay, why am I not seeing progress? We start to think, oh, it's because this thing doesn't work for me. When we start to see that's something that we see so much of, oh, this thing doesn't work for me. We want to blame it on something else, right? And not even in a negative way. It's not that like we like are these bad people that want to find people to blame. It's just our brain trying to protect us. We're trying to blame every other thing but us because we don't want to admit that we're broken, right? And we're just broke. We're every single person on this call, every single person on this earth is broken to an extent. It's not that there's no coming out of it, but we've experienced things. We've experienced so much that has changed the way that you think about yourself. And so all that your brain and your body are trying to do to the ends of the earth is say that everything else is the problem, right? We don't want to believe that we're the problem. And it's not even necessarily that it's that you are the problem, it's that the situation that you were in for so long instilled this belief about yourself that we now have to break, right? So someone that's coming in, for example, who's like, "Okay, I just want to lose 10 to 15 pounds and I've been doing all the right things and the calorie deficit just doesn't work for me, the tracking doesn't work for me, running, whatever," right? That's where we look for, we find, okay, what is the limiting belief? Like, what do we currently believe about ourselves? Who have we been for our entire lives? In my situation, it's okay, my entire life, I was the fat friend. I was the one who wasn't athletic. I was the one who didn't know what she was doing. No one took me seriously in anything that I did. I never followed through because that connotation comes in with a lot of other things. Taking it to the other side, we start to challenge those beliefs. That's where we self-sabotage. I'm trying to pay, maybe I should have done the PowerPoint. No, I didn't like the PowerPoint. Um, it comes down to when I start to, I'm recently, we'll just go recently. I've been in a point where like I've been doing this for 2 years now, right? It's been 2 years since I've lost 45 pounds. It's been 2 years that I've been coaching. It's been 2 years that I've known how to do this and that I have put my all into helping people do the things that I didn't know how to do myself. Still to this day, I struggle with that self-sabotage. And the point that I'm at right now, which I think we're all always in, is just kind of like an ebb and a flow of when we're in it and when we're not. I've come to the point where I'm like, okay, like, why can't I not get past this version of myself? Right? Like, why can't I get past, like, why don't I trust myself? Why am I struggling to not emotionally eat? And like, something that is my Achilles heel, the thing that I still struggle with believing that I'll get past is binge eating and emotional eating. That is something that I will always be so honest with you. Is like I struggle with that so much because my entire life that was the only thing I had, right? Was food was my comfort. That became an identity. And so the idea now that I've created of like, hey, you have control over food. You have control over what you do. You are not that person anymore. That scares my brain, right? The same way that like it's just uncertainty. It's not that it's good or bad. My brain is just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it's like to be in a body that I love. I don't know what it's like to be proud of who I am. I don't know. Your brain doesn't know those things. And so we start to find reasons that, oh, why this doesn't work for me. For example, um, like going into like tracking steps and nutrition wise. There was times where I'd be like, oh, like, okay, I'm doing all the workouts and I'm doing all this and like I'm half-ass tracking, but oh no, I'm in a deficit. I know I am. And I'd switch it. I would blame it on, oh, it just doesn't work for me. That's just not what works. It's the identity of shifting it still now, like still to this day, this last month and a half, right? February is always really tough, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about it a million times. We're not going to go into it. every time of year, this time of year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get out of this. Like this time of year is going to set me back of all my progress that I've made physically and mentally every time. Because that's what my brain knows. My brain knows me as someone who quits. My brain knows me as someone who can't follow through. My brain knows me. I don't believe myself. Like truly, when I'm doing all these things and I'm like posting and I'm talking to y'all, there's a big part of my brain that's like, you don't know what you're doing. I'm doing the things that one side of my brain is like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm talking into a microphone in front of who I don't even know. Um, and to me, like the fact that there's this many people that like care enough about what I have to say and you're on here and you could have left and you haven't, logically, I know that. But because there is 23 years of evidence in my brain that that is not true, I start to freak out and I start to self-sabotage. And that's where I start to tell myself, like, hey, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Hey, you don't have anything to say. You don't, these, like, just all those negative things. And that is where you have to find your self-sabotage of what negative place and belief you have about yourself that we need to break in order to make those changes. What I was saying earlier about going from like losing a substantial amount of weight, whether it's on the other side of it. If you are someone that's coming from the side of restriction of we like not fueling your body, and we're obviously that is not where I come from. I've never had an issue with not eating. It's always been the opposite, right? But I'm able to understand the other side of it to an extent, and that's why Kara is so great and helpful because she's been on the other side of it. But anyways, both sides, right? To make those big changes that we want so bad, whether it's where you have to lose 50 to 100 pounds or we need to gain enough weight so that we're not in the hospital because we can't move. It's not just about changing our food and our movement, it's about changing our identity. Because we can lose the first 15 pounds, no problem, right? Your brain's comfortable with that. I can start a business for the first couple months, right? My brain has it in that, oh, you'll stick with it for a little bit. Whatever it is that I do, that's always been my thought process. I'll stick with something for a little bit and I'll never follow through with it. It goes into fitness, it goes into my relationships, into everything that I do. I'm proving my brain wrong, and so it's going to fight me. You are proving your brain wrong every time that you are making progress. Every time that you see the positive things, we look at your check-in forms, we look at your progress pictures, we look at like whether it's the graphs or we're looking at even just like the progress that you're making in your habits. Your brain's first thought is no, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to what I know. I want to go back to what I'm comfortable with. It's not a bad thing. It's not that something's wrong with you or that you're like out to get yourself. It's just your brain trying to protect you. It's frustrating, but once you can name it, you'll really start to see the things where, like, what is the identity that you need to break? And what is the identity that is holding you in the spot that you're in? Because last week we talked about, like, plateaus, right? And we talked about where, like, what to do when we're going, like, okay, if the scale's not doing this or blah, 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 blah. So many times that last one that we didn't talk about because I was saving it for this is the mental block of, okay, I've been here for a while. I've made some change, but I'm stuck and my body's broken and now I can't do this. And you can apply this to every single thing in your life. We're not just talking about fitness and like, yes, that's like the core of why we're here. But at the end of the day, we're here to be healthy from the inside out, right? And the outside and our strength is going to rely on who we are on the inside. If your identity is still stuck believing all these things, you're going to do everything in your power to prove yourself right. You are going to do every program on the, you could go through every program on the planet and find something wrong with the coach, right? There's so many people that could do that. Like they could come in and say, oh, like Andrea doesn't do this, Andrea doesn't know what she's blah, 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 blah. And then go to the next one, and they'd go to the next one, and they'd go to the next one. People with like workout classes, there's a difference between like, okay, you don't like the class, and a difference between like, oh, workout classes just don't work for me. Or like just different. I'm trying to think of an example that's not with fitness, but like when people are like, oh, blank doesn't work for me. Most of the time, you're going in with the goal of proving that negative thought right. So if my negative thought is that, hey, you never follow through, until I break that thought, I'm going to do everything in my power subconsciously to prove that right. If I have it in my head that like there is something deeply wrong with me to where I can't have relationships that are healthy, I'm going to do everything in my power to prove myself right. If I believe I'm getting so vulnerable right now, I don't even need to, and I don't mean to be a freak. But the inner belief that like I am evil, right? That was instilled for me at a very, very young age was that I am evil and that yes, Sarah, confirmation bias, literally, literally. There's this is like I can't believe I'm literally talking about this. I have a belief instilled in me that I am evil. Obviously now I'm aware of that and I know that that's not true, but my brain just sees that as a fact. I'm going to do things subconsciously to prove that. I'm going to do things that are going to instill to my body and to my brain that the things that it's always known that are true when we don't want them to be anymore. And the first thing to do is identify and like I'm not going to sit here and say like okay, let's tell everyone what your freaking false belief is. Like no, we're not doing that. But taking the time on your own to like we can get off this call and you can go forward and like think about it, but if you're at a point where you're like, okay, why can't I break past this? Whether it's that the scale isn't moving, which at the end of the we don't look at the scale as progress, we know this, blah blah blah. If it's that like the scale isn't moving, or you're not making progress at work, or you're not making progress in relationships, or you're stuck in this like depressive state. Honestly, like going through this last month and a half, like I have this belief that this time of year, every year, I'm fucked, right? Like I have this belief that this time of year I throw everything out the window and I'm awful and that because this really sad thing happened to me that I'm screwed from the months of January to February. Breaking that belief, so then what I do is I go into these months and I'm proving that right. I'm proving to myself like, oh yeah, like you do get really depressed. Oh, and when you get depressed, guess what you do? You ruin your relationships and you don't do good with your work and you aren't giving everything your all because you're just focused on how everything sucks. Whatever it is, right? It's me proving that thought right. Your brain wants to be right. Your self-esteem wants to be right. Your ego wants to be protected so badly. And that's why so many times it's hard for us to like when someone is coming to us and is like, "Hey, like you've said that you want to do this before. Like let me help you do it." And they're like, "Oh, well, it only works for you because you have X, Y, and Z." Right? I know that you've been told that before and I know that you've said that to someone before. Even if it not physically, there is always a point where we look at someone and we're like, well, they're only there because they have this, right? There was points where I did that. Like I would be so jealous of people who had like really strong families, who had like two parents that loved each other and loved their kids. I would always use that as my excuse, right? Of like, oh, that's why I'm not where they are. Because in my head, I'm telling myself a story that I needed a strong family to be successful and that I needed a strong family to do X, Y, and Z. And like the same thing, like people who get pregnant, like we have the stigma of like, oh, once you're pregnant, like your body's broken. Breaking that thought process of wherever it is that you are in your life, all the reasons that your brain is telling you, like, hey, that's why you are where you are, your brain's just trying to protect you. You can live based on the story that you decide to tell yourself. Challenging those beliefs. This is something where, like, I wish that we could go and, like, I've, it's insane because I've been texting three people specifically today who this is the exact conversation we were having. And I was like, that's crazy because we're literally having this call tonight. And that's when I decided to not do the PowerPoint because it just comes back to your belief in yourself and breaking that belief system that you currently have in you. And yes, it all goes back, like, we're going to bring it back to fitness, obviously, because that's why we're here. Like, that's what greater than zero is we're finding ways to slowly make it to the point of having our healthy bodies in a world that's very overwhelming. But at some point, there is a limiting belief somewhere in the middle that needs to be broken for your identity to shift, for you to allow yourself to become that person on the other side. Mathematically, yes, it's about calories and food and working out and blah 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 and all the freaking things that we talk about, right? Mathematically, yes. If someone is doing these things, they're going to get there. Our brain doesn't want that. And there is an identity shift that comes with losing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds. There is a huge identity shift that has to happen in between. Mine was probably, I think mine was in Cam, who's in here. She was my roommate at the time, but I had been working out for 2 years, right? I had been working out at Orange Theory, literally like going hard as I literally so hard every single time. I was getting so many steps because I was walking on campus, like I was doing all the right things, right? And I would pay attention to my nutrition, but then the emotional eating was a really big thing. It still is. We'll get there. I half-assed trained for a marathon and ran it somehow by the grace of God. Truly don't know how. I wobbled past the finish line. That set something in me where the thought of like you don't follow through because I didn't follow through with my training. That was something else. I was saying like, oh, because I didn't do my training, at least I did the marathon, right? That's another form of like the self-sabotage. I did the marathon and I was like, I didn't think I was gonna do it. I truly, the entire time that I was running it, I was like, no, I'm not gonna finish. Like, there's no way that I finish this right now. I think I averaged like a 15-minute pace. Um, it's so proud of that girl because I literally genuinely throughout the entire thing, I was like, you're not finishing this. Like, this is just, even at mile 24, I was like, no, like, there's no way you make it another 2 miles. Even at mile 25, I was still like, maybe we'll make it another 5 minutes. Like, who knows? That was the first time that I followed through with something that I didn't think I could follow through with. That was that first thought of that limiting belief where I was like, okay, everyone talks about tracking food. Everyone talks about like blah, 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 emotional eating. Let me give it a shot for 6 weeks, right? And I tracked my food for 6 weeks and I stayed in a deficit for 6 weeks. I lost the first 15, 20 pounds, right? The first 15, 20 pounds are always going to be the easiest to lose because we don't have to change as a person yet. We just have to change the little behaviors. After the first 20 pounds, there's an identity shift that comes with it because your brain has been stuck in the same, and like I think every person in here who is coming from either the side of like we need to gain weight or we need to lose weight or like there's just a different shift that needs to happen, we get stuck at a certain point, right? And I know literally obviously I know all of y'all situations. Every single one of you has gone through this, right? Where we get stuck. That's because most people get stuck there because they're not willing to put in the work. You have shown me I believe that the people who end up in this not room, obviously, but like in GTZ are people who are willing to put in the work for themselves because it's just the way that it works out. The hard part is the identity shift. And it's the thing that no one wants to do because it is so freaking uncomfortable. Right now, my identity shift is, well, yeah, like I said, the first 15 to 20 pounds were the easiest. From there, it was like, oh shit, it's emotional eating. Like that's what my thing is. I would get angry. I would eat the 4-pack muffin from HEB's, done, gone. Taco Bell. Those are the two big things for me. That those are like my comfort foods. And it's so interesting because it makes sense because those were the two things I would eat at my mom's house. And this is a lot of like the research I was doing today about like when we're put in same situations, those old habits come back to give us comfort. And it's that same situation of when I was younger, food was a comfort, food was my only stability, and it was also used as a form of abuse, right? And so food was used in the sense of like, oh, you've been good, like, okay, here, let's go get a treat. But then it would be turned around on me of like, oh, you're fat and you're all these negative things. And so my relationship with food for a really, really long time, and still, like, I'm still working on it. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna sit here to y'all and say, like, hey, like, I have it all figured out. No. But I do believe that I have something. I know that you can get there for a fact. Taking that part of it of after I lost the first 15, 20 pounds, I was like, oh, this is deeper than just losing weight. This is deeper than just the way I look. Like, yes, it's awesome, right? It's great. Wonderful to like look in the mirror and not cry. Like, that's something that I always just hated the way that I looked, and I was just okay with that. Yes, that's great. My confidence, my blah, 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 going out, whatever the heck it is. The identity shift that has come from that part of it, and that's the thing, I think I'm at another one of I've associated so much with food being my identity for so long, and that can be whatever it is for you that your identity could be that like you are the daughter or the son that does this, or you are the friend that is like this. Um, like for like even just in a smaller way, like for so long I was known as the friend who like couldn't follow through on plans. And I decided I was like, no, I don't want to be that, so I stopped. But the thing is, your brain gets uncomfortable because that's who you are. That's how you know yourself, and that's why you're comfortable. You're comfortable doing those things because your brain knows you as that person. Your brain knows you as the person that you've said that you are for so long. And that's where we start to flake on plans. That's where we get uncomfortable. We get anxious on those things. Like, that's something that I struggled with for so long of like, I didn't want to be that person, but as soon as I put myself in a situation to like go hang out with new people, I would lose my mind and I wouldn't do it because my brain is just trying to say like, hey, no, 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 like you are this person, it's okay. Because my brain doesn't know the difference between good or bad. It just knows safe, known versus unsafe and uncertain. Going back into the identity shift from going from losing to 20 pounds to 45, it's that part was big with naming it. Like naming, hey, food has control over you. And whatever that is for you, it genuinely might not be food. It might be a completely other thing. We can figure that out together. Schedule your check-in calls. Um, Bringing that part of it in was what allowed me to get to losing 45 pounds. And that's the thing, still, like, I still have goals, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say that, like, oh, like I have 30,000, 30. No, I know that the body that I'm in is healthier and better than anything that I would have ever thought I could have. But obviously, like, I have the goal to where, like, I want to be able to have granola in my house without overeating it. And, like, that's hard for me to say. Like, that's, like, embarrassing. Honestly, like, still, like, it's like there's so many things like that where, like, my goals aren't necessarily like these huge body change goals yet, or not yet, but in general. But the goals of, like, hey, we want the body fat percentage to be healthy, right? That's what we look at a lot of the time more than anything. We look at the muscle. If I want to put on the muscle that I want to put on, hey, we need to eat the protein that we need to eat instead of eating emotionally and eating 4 muffins and eating 3 orders of Taco Bell and whatever it is. That's the identity shift that changes of I feel like I've said I take a shot for every time I've said identity shift. Goodness gracious. Um, it's just so much more than weight loss. It's so much more than putting on weight. It's so much more than steps. And I know that that's what we talk about day to day because that is mathematically and day to day what it takes to get the first 15, 20 pounds, right? And if you've gotten to that point, you know that those first 15, 20 is the easiest to go because you do not have to change as a person yet. Once we get to that point, and not even that's the thing, like changing as a person sounds so daunting. You're just becoming more of who you are already. You're seeing that person come out and with those first 15, 20 pounds showed me that like, oh shit, I can do this. Like I felt like I felt more different from 15 to 20 than I do from 45 to 18 or whatever it is. Because it was that much of an identity shift. Like I said, we're not gonna sit here and say, hey, figure out what your identity shift is. And like we're not duh, goodness gracious. Um, but I want you to it's uncomfortable. Find the identity shift that it is in your life that needs to be addressed, even if we don't address it yet. Like that's the thing. This isn't even something that you and I have to talk about. I just want you to be able to see that like, hey, you are not broken. And that it is not a bad thing that your brain is doing this. Your brain's literally just trying to protect you. It's not that these things don't work for you. It's not that you're inconsistent. It's not that all of these things. It's that your brain is trying to protect you, so you're going to keep staying into those old habits. Right? When I find myself that when I go to my mom's house, I want to, oh my gosh, as soon as I walk in the damn door, I'm eating everything. And she doesn't have much food in there, so I'm like scavenging. And I've like named it and I've been able to pay attention to it. So obviously it's not happening as much. But when we're put in situations, so then emotionally, right? Like our body remembers stress. And for some people that stress means not eating, and other people that stress means overeating. Your body recognizes that and wants to go to what it already knows. Your body knows that, hey, if I eat right now, I'm going to feel better. If I stuff my feelings or if I avoid my feelings, if I scroll on my phone, if I say no to these plans, if I tell them never mind, if I don't answer this call, if I skip my workout, if I skip this activity, whatever it is, if I skip my check-in form, like that's a big, big one of like the way that we self-sabotage in a lot of this is we skip the check-in forms and we aren't just like, and like this sounds silly because obviously it's coming from me and like, no shit, I want your check-in forms, duh. But that's always a sign of the reason I'm so, oh my gosh, get your check-in forms in is because that is the easiest thing, right? And so many times our brain skips out on the easy things because they're easy to quit, right? Or they're easy to give up. Like you can just not fill out your check-in form and your day's not going to change, right? You cannot take your progress pictures and your day's not going to change. You cannot text me and your day's not going to change. That is you trying to prove to yourself that, oh, I did the program and it doesn't work. That's the thing. It's like, I don't even take that personally because I will always say, like, whatever Your results are on me, period. Right? What you get out of this is on me. It's also how I am confident that if you give your all into what I ask you to, you will get your results, right? And that's not even saying that like if you like check all your steps and blah blah blah, but if someone who's like doing their check-in form and someone who's doing all like the little annoying things that we don't want to do, you're enforcing to your brain, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm showing up and doing the check-in form. If I'm showing up and doing X, Y, and Z because those are the things that your brain wants to skip out on, right? That's telling your brain, I'm checked out. And it's not, this is just an example of like other ways that we check out. Like I like just checking out from like reaching out to people and checking out from school and checking out from your brain wants to keep you safe. It doesn't necessarily want to see you succeed because it doesn't really even know what success is. Your brain doesn't know what success is. It doesn't know the difference between success and failure. It just knows safety and not safety. It knows what we know and what we don't know. It's always going to want to take you back to safety, and your brain safety might not be healthy. Mine isn't. What my brain sees as safe and known is not healthy at all. It is terrifying, honestly. And I was saying this earlier. I was thinking because I was having this conversation with someone, and my thought was like, I would rather lose the money of someone coming in and do it for free than lose them to this thought process because it is terrifying. The thought process of staying back in that zone of unhealthy thought that like, oh, this is just how it is. I would so much rather lose the money from that person than to lose them to that thought process because it hurts. It genuinely hurts me because it's terrifying and it's scary and it's dangerous in so many ways to go back. And the only way out of something is through. The only way that you are going to ever get out of any situation that you're in is by facing it head on. I just talked for 30 minutes. I genuinely don't even know what I just said. If you made it all the way through, I'm so thankful. I could probably talk for a lot longer. Um, Genuinely, if you were to ask me right now to give you the main point of what everything I just talked about, I don't know. But that's the thing. That is literally my brain just trying to convince me that I don't know what I'm doing. Logically, I know that that's not true, and I hope to believe that I know that that's not true. But the only way that I'm going to convince my brain of that is by doing it over and over and over and over again. Like the last like two check-in calls, literally every single one for a living. For 2 years, I talked on a microphone, and still before this, I was like freaking out nervous. Even though every day for 2 years, that's what I was doing. My brain is trying to keep me safe because it's like, hey, wait, no, 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 you don't know what you're doing. Don't get on and start talking. Don't go out and reach out to people like they're not gonna like you. This is just how it is. Your brain wants to keep you safe. Okay, before I just keep talking, anyways, that's literally it. Um, because I will keep talking about this for another 45 minutes. If you want to talk about this, absolutely amazing. I will like it's so much more than just fitness. I'm here to talk about things like this. Because it's part of it and it's going to change so much and I know that it's so scary to think of like I had to change like no, we don't need it's not this big thing, but it's just having these little conversations of like okay, like when you're holding yourself back, like what is it? And asking those little questions of like what do you think's going on? And kind of going down to that core issue. Um, yeah. I'm assuming no one has any questions. If you have one, great, but oh, Jewel, you're great. I love Jewel, guys. I've known Jewel since I was in 5th grade. She has seen when I'm talking about all the things that I just talked about, she has literally seen me through it all. Jewel and Sarah specifically have literally seen me from the moment of like the deepest, darkest, like worst parts of my life where like that's where I believed those things. They're so true. Anyways, oh my gosh, I will literally just keep talking. Okay. If this is something that we want to talk about on our calls, I love you. Always, 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 that is what we'll talk about. But if nothing else, I hope that you got out of this that your brain is just trying to protect you, that there is nothing wrong with you. It's just changing that little thought process that you have about yourself, and that's how you reframe. Okay, let me know if y'all need anything. Love you.